We're with Sedona McNerney from the SPU women's track team. Sedona and the rest of the Falcons getting ready for this week's J. Martin meet at St. Martin's down in Lacey on Saturday. Sedona coming out of a big 10,000 meter run, a monster PR down in the Bay Area a couple of weeks ago. Sedona, talk about that race a little bit. What was clicking for you that night?
It was interesting because the race strategy had kind of been to go out like no faster than a 90 for the first 2 miles, and within the first few laps I had already hit like an 89, and I remember thinking, this doesn't feel out of control, like I'm a part of the pack. And I knew from previous 10Ks that like I'd much rather be running a little too fast early on with people than to just run 25 laps by myself. And I think just moving forward throughout the race, I would see a spot that would open up, a gap would form between like the pack and someone dropping off, and every time that happened I would fill the gap. And by the end of it there was no more gaps to fill because I had filled the last gap into the front and kind of just ran away with it the last mile and used that momentum.
Did you see that coming? Was that in your mind that something like that could happen for you?
Chris had like mentioned before we left, he's like, oh, I kind of think like there's maybe this possibility that you could win your heat. But I kind of disregarded it. I was just more focused on like, I want to go, I want to run a solid 10K, and I know that I can run a lot faster than I have. And I think the race just shook out in a way that allowed me to not only have my best race ever, but to also win.
What does that mean for you going forward now? I mean, here we are, just 4 or 5 weeks away from conference already.
Yeah, this season has been, it's flying by, first of all, but also it's been really successful for me across all distances. I ran like the second fastest 5K I've ever ran in my life a few weeks ago. I've PR'd in the 15 every time I've ran it this year. And so across all distances, despite really putting my focus on the 10K, I've found a lot of success. And I think that's come maybe less so from training, but just from like mentally preparing myself and having a different attitude coming into this season. And I think that's going to continue to carry me into conference and into these final meets.
They talk about just different attitude coming in. Was that something you did within yourself or something you talked with the coaching staff about? How did you get around to that?
I think it was pretty individualistic, and to be honest, it was more like changing my mindset of like how I view my time at practice and how I view my time running. And I think in the past it's just been like another thing added to my plate, like, oh, I go to work all day, I go to school all day, I have all these responsibilities, and running's just another thing that I have to like manage. And I think this year I've tried to look at running and be like, well, I work all day, but this is my play, and so this is where I come to have fun and to forget about everything else that's going on. And I think having that mindset, while I still take practice seriously, remembering that this is a place where I feel alive and have fun, I think that has led me to be really successful this year.
1,500 coming up for you this week. After those longer races, that might seem like a sprint, but you say you're doing well in that event also this year. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I came out, I ran like a 4:58 my freshman year, never broke that barrier again sophomore year, and then my first race out of the gates this year, I think I ran a 4:55, and then my next race I ran a 4:53. Okay. And so 5 seconds to drop in a season is kind of a lot for the 1,500.
That's a big deal, yes.
But I'm just hoping to drop off more. I think I've just found a little more confidence in my ability to go fast and enjoy the fact that it's only 3 3/4 laps as opposed to 25. And I don't know, I think just finding fun in that and not thinking about the splits I'm trying to hit, but more just being present in how short the race is and using that to my advantage.
All right.